Welcome to Downtime with Donnie. Your host, Nathan Downs, chats with Donnie Lockhart, a 35-plus year veteran of the fence industry. We get his feedback and opinions on fencing, construction, and everything in between. Let's join Donnie and Nathan now.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Downtime with Donnie. I'm your host, Nathan Downs, and I'm sitting here with Mr. Donnie Lockhart in the LuxCore Studios. Donnie, what's up, dude?
Hey, I hope everybody was safe this morning.
Yep, it had a little ice and rain down here in Oklahoma, bud.
Yeah, just a little bit of freezing, a little bit, bridges and overpasses, underpasses.
Slick. What's sad is we ran out of storage on our SD card here on the board, and we spent 10 or 11 minutes talking about tires. So you guys missed tire talk. We're not going to go over tire talk again. It was good. It was real good, Donnie, but nonetheless, we're here to talk about fence. So if you want to talk tires, contact Donnie at 918-555-9292. No.
Yeah.
So for real, though, we are sitting here talking not about tires. We're talking about crew management, essentially. And had a situation where we just got back in the office from having to meet one of our crew leaders, and they just installed a fence. It's a privacy fence. It was done. What the customer called you said wanted to run through, do a walkthrough because
and make sure everything got done.
Because they knew something wasn't right. Like they just had. And then Donnie gets there last night, and it's, of course, there's all sorts of little nuanced things. So we had
things that shouldn't have happened.
Right.
We know that the crew knows that it shouldn't happen, and
right.
It did.
Right. So like you and I were talking about, again, we've talked about expectations. We've talked about establishing those things, but how do you actually manage those now in the field and in the real world?
Right. And we also established here, so contractors are a little different than house employees. And for me, I think it's a lot easier for the house employees to stay up with a little bit better than it is a contractor because they're not tied to the job, for one, right? An employee, I know where they're at every day.
Sure.
Where a contractor, you can say you know where they're at, but they might not be on the job when you get there.
Right.
And they might not answer their phone to let you know they're not on the job when you get there. So it's a little harder to do and maintain behind them. So my biggest problem with, no matter how many times I've gone when it comes to a contractor side of it, and I try to tell all because I've been a contractor and I was good at it, but I try to tell the guys that are coming in here, just like I was telling George, it's like you want to not hurt for work. You want a company that wants to give you their best jobs, their bigger jobs, because they know what kind of work you're doing. Then you want to be good at it. And so whenever you got somebody that's actually has done this and never, I didn't have nobody follow up behind me on any work that I've ever done, even whenever I ran 2 crews. So when I actually had another crew that was working under me with my tools and my trailer, I checked on them every day. If they did something wrong, we fixed it then. I didn't wait for the customer to call us and say that, that it's wrong or that there's an issue.
Right.
I already know there's an issue. And we corrected it before it ever came to that point. So, but for contractors, you can do this. And this is where it comes to this job we was talking about. So I literally drew up the job card. It's one of my jobs that I went on. Specifically had some changes that we've made to it. And we had to make another drawing because the customer didn't want to spend that kind of money, but wanted to spend this kind of money. So I actually went over this with the crew leader, made sure they had all the materials they needed for that job, or actually extra materials. And specifically told them that we were setting it up for cap and trim, but it's not being done as cap and trim is what we did. And then I get a call, I think it was just later that day it was the very next day after they'd said it.
Right.
That he called me and said, because I had happened to give him metal caps to put on the post because we weren't doing cap and trim, right? I didn't put a cap board on there. And I just didn't thinking 2 and 2. Well, I got the same excuse from the contractor that was doing the job is he seen the metal caps and he set them deeper to grade so he didn't have to cut them off, which, good possibility. I'm not saying that it didn't. It's strange that we had one part that had it right, the gate part, and then the rest of it was all.
Don't you think that it's interesting that he said it deeper, but then in the same breath, he said, wasn't he telling us that the footer of the retaining wall next to it went all the way to the driveway?
I don't know if he meant that or if he had his legs sticking out of it on it, but
I'm sitting there going,
but there was a
you
post
just
where
told
there.
us. Yeah, but I was sitting there thinking, you just told us like 12 inches down is this giant concrete footer under all this dirt, and then you're talking about setting these posts 2.5, 3 feet in the ground. I'm like, so which way is it? Like,
Well, so I didn't even pay no attention to that whenever he was saying it, because all I kept thinking is there's still a post there. You didn't even get the old post
true.
out.
True.
So how would you? I mean, there might be on those other posts they set there,
yeah.
but those posts that are still in the ground, so you can't say that that's there. I just know there was posts there originally. So dig those out and set back in the same hole. That was my deal. So,
But with subcontractors, we don't tell them how to do their work.
right, and they
Right,
don't like
we
to be
can-
told.
But legally, there is some precedence to not actually have to tell. Like, we can't tell them certain things.
Right.
We can give them a scope and a direction, which is what we did, right? Like,
Right, which is
they see the
what the
contract,
customers
right? Yeah,
want.
they know what the customer wants, how to get there. But at the same time, like we saw, bracing on our gates was wrong.
Right, they put a cedar picket.
They
up
put
for-
a freaking picket
for
to brace a gate
versus a solid 2x4
What are
brace
you
that we've
talking about?
been doing in Tulsa for quite some time. Matter of fact, I'm guarantee it's my design that started the solid brace across there. I didn't know anybody else that was in town that was doing it, and I actually started doing it at the companies that I was working for. When I go to fix one that's sagging from where they cut them in, and it's like, why are we doing it this way? Everything that we cut in, it sags within the first year. I have to go back and fix it, and I have to try and get the sag out of it, and can't get it to do that, or it bows, and I got to take the bow and the sag out of it. So it made no sense. So we eliminated one by going to solid brace back when we was using treated 2x4s. Yeah, and my bow.
Yeah.
Bow means I just pull the pins out of the hinges, lay it down on a drive, pull the old 2x4 off, put the new one on, gate straight again, you hang it up, and it's even with the deal. Nothing's changed. It's definitely a good design, which is why I had the problems with Easy Brace, right?
Right.
It served the same purpose, except for mine actually is stiffer than whenever you put it on with a solid brace 2x4. But so we're going to make him fix these things, right?
Yep.
And these are things that his crew's going to go do, because it ain't going to be the main crew guy. It's going to be his guys, flunkies being, down from him. And I don't mean nothing by that.
Sorry,
they all
flunkies.
got experience in them. Every one of them's got enough experience because we've got other jobs they built.
Yeah, sure.
So why did we end up with that?
Right.
And, it goes back to the same thing as why do we, when, let's say they're short something, why do we have to wait for the customer to say that something's missing
Yeah.
for me to
Instead of-
know that that's not on the job, or I didn't give you enough material? Like, for example, the caps. We've had another job here recently that's the same thing. They didn't put the caps on. Well, they got paid for the whole job. Now, granted, it only takes 10 or 15 minutes to put the caps on, right? It was total, I think, 9 caps that I ended up having to put on. But you got paid for a full job. So you beat me out of money that if I would have done it the other way, you wouldn't let me beat you out of money as the company. When you pay them from the company, it's like, oh, no. You're paying me for every little bit. But yet you get paid for every little bit, and yet you didn't bother to do the last 9 caps because you were short. Okay, fine. I can deal with that, right? And this is a discussion we had the other day. The same thing is, how do you back charge for that, for having to do that? Well, you do that because they didn't bother to even tell you that the caps were missing, give you the opportunity to bring them, or for you to go back and fix that. Even though you're paying them for the full job, you're going, well, it's my fault. So I'll go put the caps on. Yeah, here's your check. Pay them. But because you didn't say nothing, that should be a back charge. I'm sorry. You should have brought this up. The job was not finished, and I should only be paying you whenever the job is finished, or you've told me, hey, you shorted me. Other than that, it's done. And given the option for us to say, okay, here's your check, and I'll go take care of that for you.
And that's the hard thing. You have to establish whatever your standard is and then set an expectation. We've been talking about that. We haven't had a conversation with all the crews
Not
for these things, but it's coming. We're going to
And I've forewarned
lay
them a
out-
little, by the way.
Yeah, that's good. But we're going to lay out 2024, what the ideas and expectations are, what things we're going to try to do to make their jobs easier, and then what we expect in return, because we've got to continue getting better and not just be complacent and okay with what we just saw. Like misnailed pickets, like they didn't even nail some of the pickets, and it's no big deal. It's no big deal to you because it's not your fence today, right? And then so for even a crew leader to say, well, that's not a big deal, we can fix that. Well, I would rather
we're not
you
even
just
talking
do
missed
it.
nails that you're talking about, because remember, some of those didn't even get a nail on them.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
When I say missed nail, I'm not talking about missed nail from the gun misfiring. I'm talking about missing nails, period. Like there is one nail in the top picket and the picket's hanging down.
And that would be just they
just did not nail.
Missed nail for me is going to be when you miss the 2x4 or you run out of nails.
Sure. I see what you're
Both of those will tell you, the gun will tell you the minute it happens.
Yeah.
The gun itself will make a totally different
sound.
noise if it misses a 2x4 or it runs out of nails.
No, I'm saying missed nail. MISSED. Missed. They missed in the nails. They didn't even try to put them in.
Yeah, missing, not missed.
There you go.
Missing nail.
Missing. Yeah.
Missed nail means you nailed it wrong.
Missed. Well, yeah, tis for tat.
So it just, you should never be missing a set of nails. You should have definitely been nailing that board.
Yeah,
100%. There should have been no. How do you do that?
Right.
I mean something's weird about that, because you're nailing right there.
Stop. Pick up here. I mean, I know, right? Like I don't get it, but whatever.
No, and for me as a builder, I can tell you how it's done.
Sure.
And it's because they're not building the same every time. So, like, for example, I had a crew one time they nailed the whole panel up, and before they back nail. It's like, yeah, I could see that, because half of your pickets are not level and the other half is. And I tried to explain to him, you should be doing about, on average, half a panel. And then if you want to nail that board off to keep everything level when you level it up, which makes it easier to keep it level until you get to the end of the panel and you find out, oh man, I'm an inch off. And now you've got to gain that back somewhere, where if you do half a panel, you're never going to be that far off. Unless you're doing something wrong. And then you can nail the other half, and then you nail the whole panel off. That's the correct way to nail it. I can assure you, nobody back in my day that built, that's exactly how every crew there nailed fence, except for one guy. One guy nailed the middle, in which I had rounds with him because I worked with him, and I had to nail the middle of the picket, and it's like, well, that defeats the purpose of leveling.
Who's that, BB?
No, his name was Jimmy Banks. And he's probably here still today. If he ever hears this, he'll know. But he definitely says you nail the center of the picket and then level at the end of the panel. And it's like, well, you're not leveling then. You're just moving one end of the board over to the other way to level. That's not leveling. Here we squeeze gaps out of our pickets, right? So you squeeze your top tight, and then you reach down and you level the pickets up, squeezes all the other pickets tight. And that's how you keep your fence level. If it gets off a little bit, you might have to gap a little bit.
Yep.
Right? If you nail the middle, you don't have those problems, right? No matter what you do, I can shove the top over, or I can shove the bottom over, and it'll level up.
Didn't we have a privacy fence the other day that started coming down?
It's the one I got to fix still.
Thursday is when that's is when you're doing that. So just FYI. But anyways, the pickets started coming down, and then they
and that's the same thing. Then they nailed the top.
Right.
But they're going a full panel before they level or do anything else. Well, it's easy in a cedar board, especially boards today.
Yeah, if they're not ripped correctly,
they're not 100% perfect.
Right.
You're
so even
if
you squeezed them up or whatever, you're still gonna.
And it's pretty bad when the customer can see it, because even the customer's seen it. I mean, they're not dissatisfied with it because it's not a bunch. Sure. But still, if they're telling you it looks a little weird,
and it's picky customer. Like, not in a bad way,
but still,
like they have an expectation, which I understand.
They've gotten what
they
should look like.
It should be level.
And the thing of it is they all know, right? Right. We're not talking about people that we don't know, we haven't known for years. We're talking about people and contractors that we've known for a long time. And they know that we're like this, and they know the right way. They know that, if I see the job and you're doing those kind of things, I'm not going to cover. I'm not going to tell the customer that it's good to go. Now, if it's something stupid where it's not affecting the job or something like that, and you made a decision on something, and it works, but there's a limit to that, right? There's you have to come at least close to right. When you start going on where you're extending the 2x4s 3 foot past a post just because you didn't want to dig that end post out, that's not right. And not all customers will catch that, but there's plenty of them out here that will. And so what I mean by, as far as management, it's hard to manage a contractor, right?
Sure.
Because you're not their boss. Employees, I'm the manager. I'm definitely your boss. 100%.
Yeah, but how do you manage that? Like, so how do you deal with that in the past with employees?
So with employees, you actually know where they're at every day. So you can go out and hound them every day until you get it right. And
I would say we should probably coach them instead of hound them. But
we've had employees before, or I have, and go out and actually work with them on the job, literally redo the entire job. Like chain link, for example, how you tie a chain link fence in. Should it be tied down to the second diamond? Well, no, that is the incorrect way to put it in. You're supposed to tie that to the first diamond.
Yeah.
And then actually you're supposed to beat the tie up into the corner so the top rail is pinned around it.
Right.
But I'm fine with just tying it into the first diamond. Those kind of things, when you go out to the cruise and you spend all that time out there and you tie them in and show them the correct way and force them to redo all that stuff to make it right and make the job look right. And then for them to turn around and the next job they get that's like that, and they tie it right back to the way it was, because either the crew leader is not telling his help, that's wrong, tie it this way, or the crew leaders just don't care, right? And that's exactly what I've run into. Even as an employee, those are issues.
Yeah.
But as an employee, I can actually force the issue just a little more.
It's training across the board. I mean, so that's where we try to encourage everybody that works with us in any capacity to get better educated and get the right training.
But once again, these are guys that know. The 100%, I know they know the right way.
Sure.
They know that should not be getting done that way. Or they know that their help that they got with them, they should be making sure their help's learned in the right way.
Right.
One or the other.
Yeah.
And that was one of those things that, when I get off on the tying deal, so whenever I was actually contracting for a short time, so I had both my younger brothers that worked with me on a job, and me and the youngest brother tied the same. Our fence is the same, but my middle brother thought he's supposed to just tie it down to that second diamond again. And it's like, when did you ever do it that way? and keep in mind, he was a crew leader when I first started. He's actually working in the fence business a year before me. And yet, when I came on his crew and started learning it, it swapped and went the other way. Of course, I'm the older brother, so but I became the crew leader. He became the helper. Even though he's got a year's experience more than me, difference is I have more, I don't know, what would you call it, pride?
Yeah.
In what I do. More
excellence in what you do.
And believe that if you're shown the right way to do it, that's the way all of it should be.
Right.
It should never change. Is there ways to make it easier? Probably. I've had people that showed me that it's easier to do some things. I'm going, holy crap. Why was I not doing it that way all along?
Right.
I just couldn't see it because I was taught one way, right? Didn't change the way that the process went in. It still gave you the same process, but it cut time off of the job, made it a little bit easier. So when you spend those kind of times with an employee, they generally tend to change to that. Because otherwise they're going to see you every day, no matter what. Right. As a contractor, because they're contractors is part of the problem, is because they've got this head on them. And this is most people, matter of fact, even the employees, but I can deal with it from the employee by showing them more and spending the time. Where contractors don't want to hear that. They don't want to hear that you're building it wrong. They don't want to, even though they know you have the experience in it. But how do you explain it to them is what I'm trying to say. How do you explain that it's wrong and you keep doing it wrong when I know I've showed you the right way? How do you talk to them to the point where they don't feel like, well, I don't got to listen to you.
Yeah, they just need to have that expectation set before them. And then it's the same way as it really doesn't matter if they're an employee or a contractor or whatever, any type of
just one you have a little more control over than you do the other.
But you gotta tell them what you expect, show them what you expect, and then inspect what you already expect.
Right. And that's what we was leading to the fact of how do you control it? So the only way to control it is just like what we talked about in the past is you have to go look at those jobs. You have to have somebody that goes in and checks every job. When they know that they're being checked and they've been shown the way that it's supposed to be done or your expectations through the company, then there's no guessing anymore. Right. There's no customers calling anymore.
Yep.
It's definitely being, and that's something that we've talked about doing and we want to do because it sets you apart from most companies.
Right.
By having a man that goes out there and is capable of checking it. Now, you can't have one guy going and checking 12 crews.
Right.
If that's your expectations, which I've had that in the past. It ain't going to happen, I can assure you. One guy cannot check 12 crews jobs every day. We can try. We can try, but it just ain't happening. And then even even for the jobs that we do when we're busy, still a lot of jobs.
Yeah.
Because what we have now still puts out a lot of work.
It's a lot. Yeah.
So, and then if you throw anything else in the mix with that or change for me, like changing my schedule in the middle of the day on the moment just drives me nuts.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, you're more setting up a way for me to manage to get to everything and still get the other things that I may have going on that you forgot that I was supposed to do.
Right. Yep.
And I can't do that whenever somebody comes and says, oh man, you got to put your schedule and put 2 or 3 things in there. I'm going, well, man, I was barely going to manage to get the stuff I got. Right. And now I got to try to get these. So I got to put this off. That drives me nuts because I'm going, I already planned the day in my head, already got it figured out. And here's this little horseshoe that somebody threw in there. It's like, no, you got to go over and do this. You got to go take care of this customer. It's like, well, can't this customer wait till tomorrow?
No, I forgot to tell you 3 days ago that they needed you over there today.
And Nathan knows that this is the deal. That's why whenever he sends it to me, I'm going, I know he knows. I know he knows. He just threw a monkey in my wrench.
Then, right? Yeah.
And and I get it. I mean, the one thing that for me here, and it's to all management too. I mean, I got so used to being like we was talking the other day, the negative part of it. Versus, and to where I see where you're seeing it, even though there's times you're negative too, it's just not often, right? But I've seen where you're just having a bad day and it kind of flows out on everybody whenever you're like that. So for me, it's changed me. So that all has to do with management, but I'm open to stuff. That's my biggest difference between an employee and most employees whenever they come with experience to where a contractor is telling you that, man, they are the stuff.
Right.
I don't believe in that. Like, 100% I do not believe in that. There's always going to be somebody out there that might have a better idea of doing things. And you should be open to it. And if they show you, if they're doing it the right way and they're showing you and it's coming out the right way, then you should be open to those things.
Right.
I've learned it in my time, and trust me, it's not like I don't think that I'm good at what I do. I feel I'm 100% good at what I do. I'm not going to do something wrong, or even if it's costing the company. I mean, we've had that discussion before, right?
Sure. Yep.
Where I'm going to cut a piece of cap because the guys screwed up a job, and I cut 2 or 3 or 4 pieces, and I'm like, God, man, it's just not coming out. What am I doing wrong? How can I figure this? And I don't care until I get it right. I'll cut another piece if that's what I got to do. I'll figure out a way to get it right one way or another. And thank God the customer was there saying, oh, no, that looks good. That looks good. I was like, yeah, it looks good for the front. Back don't look so good.
Right.
So, one of those things like that. There are scenarios out like that.
Yep.
But that could have been prevented too, right? By somebody coming out there and showing you what you should have done that actually took the time to think about what you needed to do here. Which is exactly what they should have done, or the crew, the main crew guy should have.
Right.
Not his crew that he put out there that might not have enough experience. I would have figured out a different way. And I told you then what I would have done. I would have actually made that angle on the board up top to where I didn't have to have 2 or 3 different angles to cut and drop that cap board down to the taper. You could have solved the problem just by making the one cut the right way.
Yeah.
They just didn't know, right?
You don't know what you don't know.
So
I think that's
I've been taught the same thing. I'll give you a prime example. A buddy of mine that actually works for the prior company that I worked for showed me how you could cut your cap board where you don't have to have any reliefs on them. And when it's done, it looks like one piece of cap.
That's cool.
But he spent an extra 40 minutes on that piece of cap.
Right.
To make that come out like that. And it'd be a hard thing to teach. Now, this guy happens to be a carpenter. So guess what? He's going to know a lot more than I'm not a carpenter. I'm a fence builder. There is a difference. Tolerances are different.
Completely.
Yeah. So I'm a shade tree carpenter. That's what we'll call it then.
Most fencers are, buddy.
Yeah.
Most fencers are.
I have the good intentions of building cabinets the right way and making them look the right way, but they don't tend to turn out the way a cabinet maker makes them.
Right.
So
true.
So that's what we're trying to figure out. Is the difference between it? I guarantee you, an employee is way more manageable because he's seeing you every day. Because you can go to him, hey, did you do that cap the right way? Did you do it? Tell me how you did that cap, right. Or how'd you tie that fence in?
Yeah,
show me. And then I can hold him responsible, and it's not costing the company a horrible amount of money
or a bunch of time
to send him back out there,
right,
to fix it,
right.
Versus you paid a contractor good money.
Yeah,
you should be getting the best. Period.
Right.
Sorry.
Every time.
So, and I guess we need to also talk about the wire.
The wire.
Chain link from Joe.
We got some chain link coming. Here's Stat. Chili Bowls in Tulsa. Mr. Joe Everest with www.ozarkwireworks.com is coming down. And he's bringing us some more black
chili.
8 gauge. He can bring some chili too. But actually, funny side note, some of your deer meat in there, I'm thawing it out. I'm going to make some venison chili
on it.
So,
be curious to taste some of your chili.
Yes. But anyways, Wireworks, Ozark Wireworks. He's bringing us some 4-foot and 5-foot black 8 gauge extruded wire.
Thursday.
Yes, and we have been going through it.
You know what, Joe?
Moving along.
If you're hearing this, I'm going to go to your website today. We're going to see what kind of tools I can get from you. Good. Before you come this way.
Good. Look at that. If you want to look at all the tools too, you can go to ozfence.store. That's where he's got a lot of his other stuff. So ozarkwireworks.com is the chain link side and stuff. And then that bleeds over into ozfence.store or ozarkfence.store. I believe both those URLs might work, but anyways, check that out. I think right now he's doing 30% off site wide
on it. Okay.
I don't know what the code is, like winter solstice or something.
It's going to be rare that I don't have probably the tool for what I need it for.
We need to get some banana clips.
So I don't even know what those are.
Yes. Yes.
Never had them, never used them.
So glad.
But I can tell you panel clamps, or panel stretchers and stuff like that. Those are things that if you got the old style, I'm definitely interested.
Yeah, banana clamps.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna get some banana.
And then we don't have I don't have any what I call pork chop at the time.
Pork chop.
The old school calls them pork chops. The technical is tension or wire tensioner or whatever is what it is. Everybody knows whenever you say pork chop though, and. Don't have any of those. I don't think I have one on my truck. I think I gave the last one away to Jorge, I believe.
Yeah, I love a good pork chop.
Yeah,
that's good stuff.
Hey, it beats what I started with, and everybody knows whenever I say red dogs, they all know what red dogs are. If you're old school, they're the ones that have the little deals on it. That's got the little ratcheting where you pull the handle, and they still have them. I'm sure Joe's probably got them on his website. The pinching finger things, man. They're not bad for barbed wire. They work pretty good for barbed wire, but chain link, I'll pass. Tension wire, anything like that, I'll pass.
That's funny.
Many times I got my fingers pinched between those things, just dealing with it.
I don't think I've ever seen these. I know what you're talking about, but I don't think I've ever actually.
So they're good.
Them.
They're great design. They have where you can they have little deals where you can stretch the tension wire. You can use them to tighten your panel up and things like that. But they're tough. They're just tough to use versus using a cable jack and the stuff they made it easier, where you actually hook into your bar and stuff like that. You still have to do that with Red Dogs to some degree too. But we just bent a bar. You just take a bar and you put hooks on the end of it and bend it in a V, and you put this Red Dog on. What stretches your wire. You didn't have these specialized panel stretchers with hooks on them. So that'd be interesting. I'd like to see what kind of tools on there. We at least get something that might help my job easier.
There you go. Let's do it.
You could put the fence up for me, maybe.
Oh, yeah. That would be even better. You got like an AI robot, Joe, or something like that can come in there and like just do
a machine that can move along down the line as we need to.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, no, I don't want to replace you guys, but that would be awesome.
Yeah.
So, all right, friends.
The future.
Absolutely. Hey, that's probably the way.
AI is definitely going to be the future.
Going. Oh my gosh.
I've seen it.
Donnie's seen it. It's called Terminator 2 Judgment Day, Skynet.
Didn't it make the news?
What?
That one deal where they had 3 of the robots. I think it was 3 of the robots that actually became self-aware that they were being shut down and pulled from other areas to stay alive.
No, I haven't seen this yet.
Yeah, it made the news. Yeah, they actually killed some of the employees that were working there.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Somewhere Ray Hines is like shaking his head saying, told you.
So actually, here, whoever it is, SpaceX.
Okay, SpaceX, yeah.
Who's the guy that's
Elon Musk? Yeah.
He was had actually got on the news and made a statement about the fact that AI and that they're playing with fire by giving AI intelligence to the degree to where it makes the decisions for itself.
Are you sure this isn't some QAnon stuff or something?
No, sure? Because it's Elon Musk and the other guy that's the most richest guy here in the U.S. that were having he was for it.
Steve Bezos or whatever?
Yeah. And Bezos. Elon Musk is like, you just don't have no clue what you're talking about.
Now they're all going to fight. They're going to do a UFC death match.
100%. It was an AI robots that had weapons. And I have not seen this on the news. These is people that I know that have seen it on the news. They've shown me YouTube videos of the discussion. But these AI robots, I guess, had basically they were trying to shut them down. And the last one that actually did, from what I told, most of the killing of the employees, actually pulled his deal from another satellite to keep himself going.
Jeez.
They couldn't shut him down.
Freaking Ultron up here. All right.
So it is an AI issue, and it's something that we're working on. I know we're working on military-wise. I've seen robots where they give him an objective to take out somebody. Other people are interfering, knocking him down and everything. He still gets up and deals with the objective.
Now, I do know for a fact that the AI went bad already with the Air Force because, being an Air Force vet, I do pay attention to that. I want to say last year at some point, they were doing a testing thing with a drone that was being AI, and they were sending it commands for like take out
so that
critical
was their
threat or whatever it was, and it shot themselves. Now, it didn't actually shoot them, but in the training simulation, the computer said, oh, well, the biggest threat is you, but it didn't identify like the U.S. like operator as like, it just said, no, I found the threat.
So there's been 2 instances like that. The other one is,
shit, it just killed me.
The plane that comes off, or they've got the AI plane that actually went down, and the one where it was trying to land, they were push land, and it didn't communicate, and it actually landed right into the trees. There was no runway. They were just doing a simulation. And when they tried to stop it from landing, I guess they just didn't get signal to it or something. Well, this thing's saying, no, I'm landing. It doesn't matter whether there's a runway there. It's just going to land. That's the command that it was given that it's supposed to do. And somehow it was blocked,
like
right?
Dumb AI right there. So
me personally, I don't see the AI. So AI is an issue, I would think, from any common sense side. You cannot take the human out of this. I mean, have you not seen Terminator?
That's what I'm talking about, Skynet. I know.
Yeah. So that's a possibility of a real thing. And when you start giving a computer the capability of making decisions for itself.
I know this is never going to happen, Donnie, but if John Connor's listening, I just want to let him know he's our last hope.
Yeah.
So, all right, we're going to go. Oh, good one. Crew management. We'll see you guys on the next episode. Peace.
Bye.
Thanks for taking a little downtime with Donnie and Nathan. The opinions and comments on this show are of the participants only and do not reflect that of its sponsors or partners. For more content and information about Radius, visit www.protectingyourradius.com. Give us a like, share this online, and look for us back real soon.
Holy, we ran out of storage on that 128 gigabyte card, Rob. So this is our second go round to this. So we're going to skip the 10-minute tire talk this time. So
yeah,
here we go.